Buon pomeriggio. Today I will be deboning a anatra. Anatra is the Italian for duck in English. I will be using some oranges, but also I will be stuffing it with pork mince and some Sicilian herbs. So it will be a hybrid of a recipe which will have a strong Sicilian heritage. Hopefully you will enjoy and in something that maybe you will be cooking in future. So let's get going. I have a duck which weighs 1.8 kilos and I defrosted overnight and complete with giblets. I will be putting the giblets in a saucepan with some water for now, but that is what I'm going to be keeping later for my sauce. Whenever I work with poultries, I always try and use a different tray than my wooden one, as I don't really want to cross-contaminate, and plastic is ideal as they will wash very nicely. Make sure you've got a nice sharp knife for this job, and it is really important. And the first thing I do is to remove part of the wings. As I remove parts of the duck, I will be adding them to the water to make the sauce later. I've got some excess skin which I do not want, and also ducks are very fat and I don't really want an awful lot, so I will be removing it. To start deboning the duck, turn the duck upside down with the breast facing down, and with a sharp knife score a line on its back effectively. And you will immediately hit the bones of the duck, so patiently you will have to start lifting the skin and removing it from effectively the chest cavity. Effectively you are using the knife as a way to scrape off the meat, and make sure that obviously mind your fingers, but make sure that you remove as much meat as possible and you do not leave any behind. As long as your knife is nice and sharp, you will see that this is a fairly easy and straightforward job. As you can see, I'm already halfway down, and I will now move on to the other side. So effectively, once you get hold of some of the meat, use your fingers as a way to help you lifting the meat off. Stay as close as you can to the chest cavity and try not to pierce the skin, as we will be stuffing this later, and clearly we don't want the stuffing to come out in the oven. So I've now reached the point where you can see the interior bone structure of the duck, so all of this will effectively need to come out. And patiently, using your knife, go and find the areas where there is the meat that is attaching the bones to the duck, and cut them up. And almost there. One final pull, and there it is. And this will go with the rest of the water to make up the sauce for later as well. So we are halfway there, and now we need to remove the rest of the bones. So again, get hold of your knife and gently go underneath the cartilage and start scoring through it. You will see that this should come off much easier. Again, using your knife, as long as it's nice and sharp, very carefully remove any cartilage left behind. And now we move on to the legs. So get hold of the little bone there, and again with the knife start pushing the meat away, and you will be effectively shaving it off. Again, take your time in doing this job, and mind your fingers. I find that by scoring the end of the leg here or the drumstick, it will become easier later when I peel it off. So I'll do both sides. For the bottom part of the leg, I find that by pressing it against the board and using the knife to shave it, it's much easier. Literally, it's a matter of digging. Then you can get hold of the end of the leg once you've removed enough meat, and that becomes a lot easier. And as you have scored the end already, it should be much easier to just peel it off. And there it is, pretty much fully deboned. The only thing I've left is the bones inside the wings, because I think that by the time I put it back together, presentationally it will look much better if the bones are left inside. The one thing I'm going to be doing next, I'm going to be removing some of the meat from the breast and I will show you later why that is, because that will be going on the top as well. So literally make sure you don't go through it, but just enough to give you some for later. And I'll leave it here, and I'll put it back in inside the tray it came in, and I'll put it on one side for now. And I'll do some washing up. So I've collected all of my giblets and pieces of bone that I've taken off the duck in this pot. I filled up with water, and I'm now going to be putting a bay leaf, just simply as it is, and place it on the hob. I'll take it to the boil, and then I'll let it simmer for about 15 minutes. In the meantime, I will be getting on with the stuffing, and this is half a kilo of pork mince. Add a pinch of salt, some pepper, the equivalent of a level teaspoon of fennel seeds, very, very typical Sicilian herb, especially in these dishes with pork mince. It marries really, really well, maybe a little bit more actually. Break in a small egg, and using your hands start mixing it together. I think it's important that you use your hands, because we will need to judge the consistency. At the moment it's very, very liquidy, clearly, with the egg as well, and I will be adding some breadcrumbs, some dry breadcrumbs, and as you add the breadcrumbs you will then decide how much you need until it becomes in a consistency not too dissimilar to when you're making meatballs, really. Start with a couple of tablespoons of breadcrumbs, and you will be able to judge by using your right hand to see what is like. I still need some. I put a third spoon in. I think one more and that'll be enough. I think it's perfect. To give you a little demo, if you were to make meatballs, you would see that effectively nothing gets stuck into your hand, and that is what I've actually achieved. Now that the mix is all nice and compact, you can remove it from your bowl and put it on your plastic tray here, on your plastic board. Give it a further mix until it's all nicely homogeneous. So dig a little hole in the middle of your meatloaf, effectively, that's what it is. And I will be placing a couple of hard-boiled eggs, and this is a very, very Sicilian thing, of course. And I'll put them just next to one another, and then I will wrap the meat around them. You don't have to be absolutely precise, but clearly do your best. Remove a little part from the end, from each end, one end and one end. I'll explain why in a moment. And put this on one side, and bring your duck back on the board. Those little pieces of breast which I removed earlier, we will put them on top of our main piece of meatloaf. If you find the odd piece of bone, remove it, just like this one, for example. So those little balls that we have removed, we're going to be stuffing the legs with those, the thighs actually I should say. So just use your fingers and push them in as much as you can. You will see that it should come out from the other side. There you go. And that's when you can stop. And do the same on the other side. Wonderful. And now we can put our main part of the meat in the middle and fold it back, one end and the other end. Of course you can also do this with chicken, by the way. Actually, if you were to do it with chicken, it'd be considerably easier, because I think it is easier to debone. And I'll go and wash my hands, but we're going to be doing some surgery. Actually, we've done the surgery, we'll be doing some stitching up in a moment. And here I have a needle and some cooking string, and I'm going to try and now close the best I can. Try and get hold of meat rather than skin, otherwise when you're cooking it in the oven it will just break and open up. As you reach the end, just cut your string and find somewhere like going back on itself so that you can put a little knot on it. Like this. There, that should do it. This part here, which is the bum, I'm going to just remove it. And using a little bit more cooking string, I'm now going to be securing it from the top and from the bottom. And I'll go underneath and over the leg, and the same on the other side. I'll come on the top, and I'll put a little knot. Make sure you leave a little piece of string here at the top. Feed it underneath, gently lifting it. Pull it back on yourself. And do a stronger knot now. And then you can cut it. And I'll do the same also twice on the middle part of the body. Last two. Remove any excess string, by the way. And the last part is to secure the bottom of the drumstick effectively so that nothing escapes. That's one. And remove any excess string. Now if we turn it the other way around, you will see that the duck has retained its original shape, and secure anything that is flapping like here underneath the string. Obviously some meat will come out, but we want to try and minimize it. Next I will be garnishing it with a couple of slices of orange, one under here and one under here. And the finishing touch inevitably is going to be some rosemary. I will be putting a little pepper on top, a little rock salt, and I lift it and place it inside a suitable casserole dish ready for the oven. And one last touch before it goes in the oven is half a glass of white wine. Ensure that the wine goes beside the duck and not on top of it. I'll place the lid on and I'll put it in the oven for approximately 1 hour and a half at 180 degrees, but I will let you know later how it goes. So the water with the duck has been merrily cooking away, and I will be just removing the big parts of the bones so that they are out of the way, as they are quite large and they're gonna get in my way. And I'm now going to effectively strain the water using a sieve. I've got more than what I need. There'll be 5 of us tonight for dinner, so that should be plenty. And next I will be making a soffritto. I've got one small carrot, actually half of a large carrot or a smallish carrot, a piece of celery and a small onion. Remember to remove the strings from the celery, otherwise they'll get in your way later. Chop your vegetables and into reasonable size, and pour a little olive oil on the bottom of a pan. And add your vegetables. Place them on the hob on a fairly aggressive temperature, but not the maximum, and let them sizzle for a couple of minutes. Perfect. After a couple of minutes you can add your broth. Once the stock starts boiling, we will turn the temperature down on a medium to low heat and place the lid on, and we will let it simmer for approximately 20 minutes or until the vegetables are cooked. Wonderful, my vegetables are cooked and they smell great. The first thing I'll do is to add a pinch of salt, as I've not put any salt at all in any water or in the gravy. And I'm going to whisk everything together. To thicken it up, what I'll do, I've got the remaining orange from the duck, and I'm going to be squeezing them. Pour the orange juice in a glass and add 3 heaped teaspoons of cornflour. and mix it together. Place your pan back on the hob on a moderate heat. Ensure that all of your corn flour has effectively dissolved in the orange juice and add it to the gravy, or I should say the sauce. As soon as your sauce starts boiling, you will see that it will thicken up quite a bit, really, depending on how much corn flour you put in and also how much stock you have. In my case, I think I'm satisfied that this is the right thickness for us. If you look, it is a little bit liquidy still, but I'm going to leave it to simmer now for a good 20 minutes to half an hour, and it will thicken up a little bit more. Clearly, if you are strapped for time, you can always add a little bit more cold water in a glass with corn flour and make it a little bit thicker. It's entirely up to you. I'll just check it for salt to make sure that it's okay. And it's perfect. And I will finish the dish indoors where the duck is cooking in the bigger oven, and I'll see you in a little while. And there it is. Looking pretty.
She looks so pretty.
It's just out of the oven, and I actually had it in the oven for 1 hour and a half as planned, but then for the last 10 minutes, which is actually 1 hour and 40 altogether, I decided to take the lid off so that it gets a nice golden color. So altogether 1 hour and 40 minutes. Also, what I did when I took it out, I removed all of the juices that were released, and I've added to my sauce to give it even more of a richness in flavor. I will now let it rest for 10 minutes, and then we can carve it and see what we have done. And I'll start carving it. I'll do a nice and thick slice. It's still a bit warm. I suspect that the best time to carve it most probably is after half an hour, but I don't think we're willing to wait that long.
No, we're too hungry to wait.
Now remember, this is being deboned, and so the cooking time is perfectly okay, as all we are doing, we are just cooking now meat. The bones have all been removed, so you can see that it's all perfectly cooked on the inside. And you've got a combination here of mince and some of the meat from the duck as well. It's looking really good, actually. I'm very pleased with it. It's nice and juicy as well. As I get further into the duck, you will see that there'll be more meat, and we should be finding the egg. And there it is. And this is easy and lovely because there are no bones, and you can just comfortably go ahead and slice it, just if it was a what's it called, a meatloaf?
Oh yeah, yeah.
A meatloaf. So here the difference is more visible, where you've got the meat from the duck, the meat from the pork, the mince, and the egg. Looking lovely. And of course I now need to do a test, so I'm gonna pour some of my gravy on a piece of meat which is destined for my mouth. I think it's a little bit too big, Julie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Just for a change.
I'm gonna cut it, otherwise I get told off. And it's number of flavors. The orange is prominent because of the orange in the sauce. Also, you can taste the fennel and the duck, of course, and it's a lovely combination. Nice and rich, and definitely worthwhile trying. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I have. I'm going to enjoy eating it as well. I'm sure Julie is. And thank you for watching if you watched to the end, and arrivederci and grazie. Ciao ciao.